crying, and I mean, guys, strangers, all hugging and kissing each other. It was like the biggest relief and celebration, and then it was all uphill after that.
It's 3 a.m. this September morning, and still at Studio 54, people crowd the doors, hoping to get in.
Studio 54 became, in 1977, this unbelievable island where nothing mattered other than status and feeling good. Nothing.
Most places you could expect to just at least get in. You know, with Studio 54, there was this big crowd of people standing around outside who couldn't get in. And so that made it a bit more exclusive if you did get in.
Oh, you're not shaved? There's no way in a million years you're going to get in. It doesn't matter if you're not shaved. Listen, just go home.
Nobody knew with Steve at the door what was the trick. He would just pick them up randomly.
He would stand at the door and people would, Steve, Steve, and he would pick somebody and then take their $20 and put it in his pocket and send them past the gate where they would actually pay to get in.
One night there was a couple that had just married and they were in a honeymoon and they had decided to go to the studio. He decided that he could go in, but she wouldn't. And he walked in and left her outside. I mean, it was like crazy, 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 crazy. Playing God.
Once you got in, and it wasn't anything that was spoken, but it was the sense you got that everybody thought they were special because they were able to go to Studio 54. And that bothered me. The idea that I'm better than anybody else because I'm here. And look at me, I'm standing next to Liza Minnelli. Or look at me, aren't I wonderful? I'm here with all these people. And it was something that I think they encouraged because it made them an extraordinary amount of money.
There was some party, and we drove over to Studio 54, and we all climbed out, and they wouldn't let us in. That was where it was Debbie, Harry, it was me, you know, you think they'd let Blondie in, you know?
I never went to Studio 54 that much. It was all about, you know, rich people. Bianca Jagger and all that stupid crap. The Velvet Rope syndrome just became the norm after a while. You know, we tended to stay downtown.
Your glossy lips are products, though. They wave you in where we can't go.
Why are you here tonight?
I guess we're just interested to see what's going on.
It's a fascinating place, I must say. It's probably one of the most interesting places in New York.
The CBGB's like, it's getting worse because, like, there's a lot of people coming here who aren't the right kind of people, you know? And, like, not the old crowd, like, it's a new crowd.
You can't say no.
77 at CBGB's, the bands were complete opposite reactions to the disco period, Studios 54s and that stuff. But once everything got going, it just became pop music all over again. I mean, the Ramones, Talking Heads, Blondie, Richard Hell. I think they got better with their commercialization. You know, it became a business. And for record companies, their job is to be in business.
You've been told that you're the best. You can't say no.
This was a time when the British were getting involved in coming over and seeing what was going on at CBGB's and then feeding it back with their own take on it.
The Sex Pistols were getting unbelievable attention in Britain because everyone found them so shocking, and they went on the Bill Grundy show and said the word fuck. And then they did their tour of the U.S. You know, Sid Vicious was getting beat up, and there was always blood, and this is what the press grabbed onto, and this is what became known as punk rock.
There was a lot of trepidation in the American music industry, and in the radio, we had to really sell ourselves, and a lot of it just had to do with their expectations of what punk was, you know.
Punk had bad connotations, so I tried to come up with a different phrase than punk, and because New York had been rather dormant in the years before all this action started taking place on the Bowery, I called it the New Wave.
I remember hearing some of our music on the radio for the first time. It was a thrill, and there were lots of moments like that. One of the songs was a hit, or hearing one of the songs went #1 or something like that. It was all, it was all these high points.
Debbie, she had a great commercial voice. And I remember them saying, "You're really going to be amazed when you see us on stage at Madison Square Garden." And I was thinking, okay, I know I like this, but I wasn't thinking that. And sure enough, they got there, Blondie had it. The Talking Heads are another real example. The most imaginative, interesting music played by people whose imaginations at the time even exceeded their ability to execute it. But it didn't matter, and they made hit records.
We had just finished our best album, Rocket to Russia, and we went on tour. We thought this was going to be the record to break us.
We do 2 European tours, 151 shows is what I call the beginning of the non-stop world tour.
We did an incredible show in Stockholm, Sweden, where the audience tore out the first 2 rows of seats. And when I heard that, I said, oh my God, we're getting famous.
1977 was a fabulous year for Sire Records because we were in the right place at the right time. It just got better and better and better.
This is not just a fluke. This place on the Bowery called CBGB's continues, By the end of 1977, punk rock took off around the world,
It was a moment that I don't think will ever exist again in New York City, and that's probably a good thing. It was almost like Rome was burning and you wanted to get in your last lay before the walls fell down.
Tuesday, September 20th, Election Day. New Yorkers had to slog through torrential rains to vote, and the man they elected mayor, Ed Koch, got 55% of the vote.
Koch served 3 terms. He really did an excellent job. He saved the city.
I did bring the city back to fiscal stability, and I gave the city back its spirit, so the people who lived here were once again proud of being New Yorkers.
We have been tested, but we have survived, and soon we will begin again to flourish. We are the city of New York, and New York in adversity towers above any other city in the world.
So the city has changed, but 1977 was a very, very pivotal year. A lot of what we see in music and popular culture now, the seeds were sown back in that period.
There's something about these moments where everything seems so sort of dark and everything seems to be decaying, that's often when kind of great art is born.
You need a catalyst, and I think that the Ramones were a great catalyst, and the Talking Heads, and Blondie, that whole early group of artists.
All these groups were important because they laid the foundation for what was to become punk rock, alternative music, new wave. Now it's indie.
At the end of '77, Saturday Night Fever came out. Being such a popular movie, it took that concept of disco and made it mainstream.
And that's when really all these record companies started signing, anybody that could sing. The Avon lady had a disco record, they'd sign her and put her out and throw all this money at her. And
the public, by and large, was just beat over the head with it, to the point where people just couldn't take it anymore.
It seemed to accelerate and then disintegrate at the same time. There was like all this disco, and then anti-disco.
What came out of it dying was house music. When you got people like Madonna doing a house record, everywhere in the world, house music is pop.
Well, basically, they didn't think hip-hop was going to last. It's 2007 now, and it's still here and growing stronger.
Hip-hop has done a lot for our people. And when I mean our people, I mean, minorities in general. Imagine a world without hip-hop right now. Imagine if this would never occurred. I mean, we'd all be breakdancing to bluegrass music. I mean, who knows? I mean, right? It's something that just the constellations were aligned the right way.
Physically, the city today is such a changed place. We've seen over the years those empty lots are now decent housing, and something was changing in the communities in which crime is so prevalent. And some of the credit for that should go to those communities themselves and how they got themselves together.
If you go to the Bronx or even the West Side, the Lower East Side, half of Brooklyn, buildings that were abandoned by landlords in 1977 are now yuppie condos with views that are selling for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars.
Living in New York now, you feel safe. The city is cleaner than it's ever been, but it feels a little bit dull.
It's Indianapolis is all it is. There's no life to this. I want to see whores on 42nd Street. I had enough of this. People coming in from the...
You don't even know what a whore looks like.
From the suburbs. From the suburbs to see the Lion King.
I like the city better when it was sleazy. I don't think big cities should be safe for women and children and families. It's just not good for the arts, you know? It all becomes fucking real estate after a while.